Hey guys, what's going on? This is Tanner from TanmanBaseballFan.com and ConsecoCollector.com. I've been thinking a lot about graded cards recently, particularly in the junk wax era. I'm going to be showing you a few things on screen here that might just drop your jaw. I might be doing a little bit of rambling as well because I'm kind of thinking through some of these things as I'm going here. But let me go ahead and show you a few things that I pulled up here. So as far as pricing goes, what I want to do is I wanted to look up a few PSA 10 prices of 1986 tops. Here's my BBC FASC box. It's from a sealed case. That's what FASC means. I love these sealed boxes. They're some of my favorite boxes ever. So great stuff. But 86 tops. When you think of 86 tops, you almost think it's like in the heart of the junk wax era, if you know what I'm saying. Like they're kind of ugly cards. There's not really a whole lot of excitement going on in these boxes. So you may think. Let me show you some of these prices and see if you change your mind here a little bit. So what I did was I looked up 1986 tops Eric Davis here. And some of these prices might just be crazy to you. They are to me, actually, as well. Sold prices, you have back in 2014, one was for $265. 2017, one was almost $1,200. 2018, one was $977.99. Guys, this is nuts. Just for a PSA 10 card, and I'll show you on, if you go to ComC, for instance, let's take a look and see how many there are. Obviously, these aren't graded, but there's 8 on ComC. And, some of them are off center, and, some of them look decent, but, ultimately, I mean, these are, I would expect to find these in any common boxes for less than a penny, but because they're actually listed, they're $1 or $2 or whatever. So we can go to the pop report here, and let's see exactly how many there are. And if I remember correctly, let me see here. So the one in 2014, it says the pop report shows 1 of 2. So let's see how many there are now. And this is kind of a little fear that I would have if I were going into graded cards a little bit. This will load for a second. Eric Davis. Okay, so it says that there are 3 now. So back in 2014, there were 2. Now there's 3, and it looks like maybe all 3 of them have shown their faces on eBay at one point or another. And the fear that I have about this, guys, is what happens if there are others out there. There will be, for sure, because there's millions of A6 Topps cards out there. But what happens if, let's say this next year, 10 or 15 others are graded at a PSA 10? I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I think when people first get into graded cards, they start thinking, well, gosh, I can make a killing off this. I'll just buy a box and pull all the PSA 10 cards out, have them graded, and make a killing. Well, it's easier said than done. I want to go to Collector's Universe here. It's a great forum. I post on there fairly frequently, as well as obviously the others like Blowout and Freedom Cardboard and Beckett and all them. But there's this one thread which I've kind of fallen in love with a little bit here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's actually a really good one. It's I love the 80s. So it's by a Jordan Gretzky fan. It's been going strong for quite a while. As you can see, there's 895 comments. So what this guy has been doing is he has a boatload of junk wax, and he's just opening it all to try to complete PSA 10 sets of every single junk wax set there is, which is an awesome thing to see. Somebody attempt. I don't think it'll ever happen. I mean, best of luck to you, Jordan Gretzky fan, if you can. But it's nuts. And I don't know if he actually thinks he's actually going to complete that goal or not. But it's been a blast to follow through. And the interesting thing is let me show you. Like he'll do a box break, and then he'll show how many candidates there are. So for this 86 Donruss box, he said he has 8 candidates. And look at this. There are no names. Well, No offense to George Bell, but you know what I'm talking about. And every single box, that's actually a good box. So this, what is it, A6 Topps vending? Let me see what he's saying. There's 2 contenders for PSA 10 now, the whole vending box. And there are hundreds and hundreds of pages, guys, where he's opening box after box, and only a couple of these cards per box are PSA 10 candidates. And so let me show you the A6 Fleer. 4 candidates emerged. So he pulls out an $85. So obviously, these black borders are tough as nails to get PSA 10 cards, but he says, holy cow, these cards are nearly impossible to find in Gem Mint. Of course, it's $85, right? Which that would be great to be able to look up, by the way, and see what the pop report is on some of these $85 cards. I mean, I bet it's got to be, insane. But anyway, so here are the 3 candidates. And, he did really well. You got Hershiser rookie, and you got Boggs. And, of course, the DeLong guy, I've never, heard of him before. But anyways, hundreds of pages. It's the same thing, or hundreds of posts where you have out of these 1,000 touched cards, untouched cards, there are 8 contenders found. It was 0.8%. And look at these guys. Maddox is good, but this just happens over and over and over again. So let's go back to looking at prices. So the A6 Topps Davis is obviously eye-popping. Even something like the Nolan Ryan, which you would expect Nolan Ryan to be graded more just because he's a Hall of Famer and one of the most iconic baseball players in history. But Eric Davis obviously is not. In his own right, he was great, but he's no Nolan Ryan. So for Nolan Ryan, what you have for PSA 10 cards, I mean, you see there's several of them, but look at this, guys. 300, 400, 450, all these. It's crazy, and there's tons of them. So you want to look at the pop report of Nolan. Let's take a look and see how many PSA 10 cards there are. So Nolan Ryan, there are 91 of these, and they're still pulling in $300-400, which is crazy to me. I mean, that's insane. And again, I just don't know how many people out there are interested in paying hundreds of dollars for an A6 Topps Nolan Ryan PSA 10. And we looked at how many there were on ComC. There's 8 of them for Eric Davis. I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a boatload more of Nolan Ryan, but let's take a look. Okay, yeah, a little bit. There's 180 of these A6 Topps raw Nolan Ryan cards on ComC right now, which, I mean, page after page. Who knows? Maybe there's some gems up in ComC. You never know. But anyways, these are all $1 or less, or a little bit more, which is amazing. And so again, my fear for this is, what's to say if somebody has just been hoarding a bunch of gem copies of this and they all decide to submit them to PSA, and let's say the pop report goes from whatever it was, how much was it, like 97, 91 to 300 or something, because there's so many of these cards that have been made, there's really no limit or cap. I mean, the difference between going after graded cards, in my opinion, and just regular cards that might have a limited print run, is what the print run is going to be, when they're serial numbered, at least for the most part. But when it comes to PSA graded cards or BGS graded cards, they're, the number of cards in the pop report can really only go up, from what I understand. So the question is, will the collectors of these PSA and BGS cards go up as well? And if there's more collectors than there are cards out there, then obviously it'll, the price will continue to increase. But if not, then, that's it. I would imagine these prices would go down by quite a bit. But we'll go to a few others. And let's say, by the way, if PSA or BGS goes out of business, then what happens? If the registry goes away, I mean, is that going to be are these cards going to be as coveted as they were before? I don't know. So another one, Ryan Sandberg, PSA 10, sells for $900. And then before that was $600. Well, and this is a Tiffany. Let me run search without Tiffany cards. But anyway, so 2015, one sold for over $1,000 for an A6 Topps Ryan Sandberg. Now let's do a search on ComC again. There's 32 of them here. I mean, so there's no shortage of the Ryan Sandberg cards themselves, but I mean, you look, and this is interesting. It looks like there's a print defect in several of these. So that's kind of interesting. And there's obviously centering issues. There's all kinds of issues with these cards. I mean, this one, I mean, even you take a look, and there's obvious damage. So these cards are very difficult to find in, in mint condition. It's a PSA 10 candidate, but I guarantee you there's a lot more out there. I mean, they made, like I said, millions of these cards. So going forward, I wanted to also go for, A7 tops. So here's my A7 tops, by the way, box. Love A7 tops. Who doesn't love A7 tops though? I mean, the wood borders and, tops, I know obviously, redid them over and over to death, but, A7 tops, you think junk wax, that's like maybe the iconic set for it, right? And I would imagine they would be a lot more easy to grade in PSA 10 than A6 tops, because A6 tops does have the black tops and everything, but A7 tops has the wood border. It's probably quite a bit more forgiving. But you take a look, just as an example, this is a Tiffany, it looks like, but the regular Sparky Anderson, there's a couple of them down here. I mean, they're both PSA 10, and they've gone for $179, $174 for Sparky Anderson. I mean, it's a common card. And, let's take a look at the pop report on that and see. 1987 tops. So look up Sparky. Okay, there are 18 PSA 10 cards. So who knows? Maybe there are 18 people out there that are willing to pay close to $200 for a Gem Mint PSA 10 Sparky Anderson. Which, again, I mean, it's I can say that may seem crazy, but really, I collect Conseco, and people think that's crazy, so I'm not going to hold that against them at all. I will say this: I'm not doing this video just to say people are crazy to do this, because I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's very surprising to me, and I knew that there were some eye-popping numbers and figures out there for junk wax being graded, but it's fun to dig in and actually see what they are. So, and the last one I wanted to do, A7 tops, Fernando Valenzuela, last year sold for $300. And the thing that I found interesting about this, it says it's one of one. So the pop report, last year was just one, but look what happens here. So now, let's see, number 604, I believe that's 604. Yeah, so is the All-Star card, I guess. There's two now. So the pop report essentially doubled inside of a year. And I'm not really sure what that's going to do for price, for the value of the other one. I don't think it's going to do anything necessarily harmful at this point, because surely there's going to be other collectors out there that want that same card. The problem would be if that pop report increases higher than the actual number of collectors. Will that happen? Will it not happen? I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you personally think about this, so please let me know in the comments below on what your thoughts are. But again, check out this this Collectors Universe forum page. It's forums.collectors.com, and just keep scrolling through, and just to get an idea of how difficult it is to pull these PSA 10 cards. So maybe there is something to this. So my journey in going through this, so to speak, was from utter surprise of how, and this has been kind of like a working thought process for me over the past year or so. So I went from being incredibly surprised to like how much these common cards in junk wax in PSA 10 form could go for, to just astonishment of how difficult it is to actually pull PSA 10 cards here. So here's an A1 Donruss box. He shows the Hall of Famers, and then he has one PSA 10 contender, and it is Gary Thomason. So think about that. So another way to think about this as well is, you imagine having a card like this, for instance. So that card is coming up on, you know, 40 years old in a couple of years here. In the next 2 or 3 years, are there going to be 100 other Gary Thomasons, their PSA 10 to come to market? Probably not. So I think the PSA and BGS guys are safe, but it's always been a nagging question in my head: what happens if the pop reports are flooded? But based upon what I'm seeing on who is pulling what, it doesn't look like there's a problem at all. Here's another one. Is this A7 tops? Yeah, A7 top cello. And let's see, there's only one contender for PSA 10 in the entire box, 87 tops, Kirby Puckett All-Star. So, before you go out and buy cases and cases of junk wax for, 30, 40, 50 bucks each looking for a PSA 10, just remember it's a little more difficult than you can imagine here, especially given the evidence on this thread here, which I love it when people document what they do. So even these A7 tops traded sets here. So 9 contenders is 1.36%. So we're looking at around 1% of these cards being PSA 10 contenders. And that's not even them graded, guys. This is like the contenders that he thinks will go for PSA 10. So A3 Fleer, I'll quit after this here, but we have 3 that are PSA 10 contenders. So anyways, that is that. I'll leave you with these eye-popping prices again. Eric Davis for about $1,000. Nolan Ryan A6 tops for $300-400. Ryan Sandberg for about $1,000 in A6 tops. Sparky Anderson for nearly $200. And Fernando Valenzuela for $300. So again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Will PSA cards, graded cards in PSA 10 format in junk wax, will they hold their value or will they not? Will they increase? Will they decrease? What are your thoughts? Let me know.